Hi, I'm Dolen Perkins-Valdez, and I'm a historical fiction writer. When I'm not writing, I'm teaching. When I'm not teaching, I'm playing with my kids. But the place I love to be the most is in the library. I love to read historical fiction. It just transports me. So I decided to start this book club. Here together, we will read stories featuring women's histories. We'll talk to writers, we'll have discussions. It'll be fun. Come on and join us. Hi there. Okay, I'm going to just move you to the top there. Hi, Brendan.
Well, hello, Dolen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, look, we are here to discuss this phenomenal book, Symphony of Secrets, your second novel. And I'm going to just jump right in because we don't have a whole lot of time. But I just wanted to start with a sort of usual origin question. Like, how did you come up with the idea for this book? I know you mentioned in the author's note your first encounter with the Black composer William Grant Still and how you were stunned that you had never heard of him. But was that the origin of the book, or how did you come up with this idea?
It was, okay, I'm just going to keep it 100% real. I'm going to keep it
Okay.
real.
Okay.
After I wrote The Violin Conspiracy and it got picked up, I had to write another book. It's like, what am I going to do? And I knew I wanted to have something to do with music. It's like, all right. I wanted something with America, with history, because I actually like doing the flashbacks with the historical aspects. You can tell a bigger story that way. You know what I'm talking about. You can tell.
This dual timeline is so popular right now. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's good stuff. And I, decided to use a character, Josephine, who was living with autism. And I really wanted to focus on her character. She was originally supposed to be like a throwaway character. I just was going to kind of mention her in a couple of chapters and then she was gone. But her story ended up being bigger than the entire book. So I was like, you know what? I got to follow where the story goes. I can't fight it. So I just really just dove in and decided I'm going to take everything that I know and just throw it into the story, and voila.
Well, it's so weird and eerie reading it because I felt like it could have been a true story, right? Like, I mean, even though Josephine's not based on a real person, right?
Right.
But she could have been. I mean, like, I remember reading about was it Florence Price, the Black woman composer whose compositions were found like in the attic of her home in like 2009. I think they found like many of them in the attic, and then symphonies began performing her work. Like, this idea of recovering the work of Black female composers and of just Black composers in general, I thought was really true to life.
Yeah, it did not it didn't really stray too far from what we are going through and what has been taking place for decades now. This is, unfortunately, it's not something that's new. It's literally been happening to musicians and musicians of color, especially for decades and decades and decades. Not getting credit for work and basically being erased.
Brendan, for the people who don't know you, I'm including me, I'm curious. Tell us about your musical background. So you're a violinist.
I'm a violinist, and okay, for those of you who are listening, watching like right now, I just learned something amazing about my friend Dolen. She is a world-class musician.
No,
Don't think I was going to let that one slide. No, 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 no. See, I got an E11 clarinet. I know you got an R13 in there.
oh my God.
I'm a violinist. I started playing when I was 9. I played in several major symphony orchestras. I'm a conductor. I just finished a 4-concert stint in Cleveland with the City Music Players of Cleveland. It was phenomenal. And I play flute and clarinet and oboe and guitar and a little bit of piano. And
Wow.
just music is my life. It is absolutely my life.
It's your life, Brendan.
Yeah, it is. You know what I'm talking about. Don't even front. Don't front.
Well, I love that because you're also a writer. You're a phenomenal writer. So I'm in awe of the fact that you can do both. Not very many people can do that.
Well, I like to think that I am always learning. There's always something that I can do better musically. I can always learn from someone how to do something, how to play something better. Same thing with writing, and I'm constantly talking to different writers and reading different people's works, and I need to do more of this. I can do this better. And I'm always open to advice. So yeah, just letting you know that I'm open to advice if you want to throw some my way.
Well, tell you what, you teach me something on the violin. But I already promised you Girl Scout cookies.
True that. True that.
So you've got this Josephine Reed character who is taking over the story because she's such a powerful. I mean, I really do believe that like characters have a life of their own, and that
Mhm.
like that's the one part about writing that I think is kind of spiritual is like characterization. That's why I feel like it's the one thing you can't rush. It's
Mhm.
the one thing you can't teach. It's the one thing that like if you don't let the character do what they want to do and you try to force them, then your story falls flat. So you have
Mhm.
to really like sometimes if the character wants to take over, you kind of have to let them, or maybe this isn't their book. And so you have to say, hey, wait till your turn. This isn't your book. But
I totally agree.
so you got this Josephine Reed. And as a character, what was she saying to you? She was saying,
She was saying, I want to be heard. I want people to know that I am here. I matter just as much as everyone else. I might not be the exact same as everyone, but I am here. I am me, and that is good enough. And I love what you said about, letting the character do what the character needs to do. Because I actually, for a short time, I fought against letting Josephine be herself and expand throughout the story. I fought against it, but then I realized, yeah, that's not going to work. This is, she's too big of a character. I can't do this. But there was actually in Violin Conspiracy, there's a whole nother character that I had to cut out completely because he just took over. It's like,
mm-hmm,
forget Ray McMillan. This guy was, so I think I'm actually going to end up doing,
going back to him.
yeah, I'm going to, he, that wasn't his time, but it's going to come. So yeah, I
Love that.
totally agree with what you're saying.
That wasn't his story. Sit down
Not at all.
somewhere. And so tell me about, so, as I'm reading the book, there's so much deep musical knowledge. Like, I could not have done it. Like, the way you talk about the transitions between chords and the way that Josephine is thinking. Like, I love that how brilliantly you captured what she brings to music that is unique,
Mhm.
right? That Freddie cannot do.
Right.
You know, it reminds me, and I don't mean to be controversial here, but it reminds me of like, what Miles Davis used to say about how like Black musicians had something to their music that was unique to the culture. And of course, we're not talking about like the essence of Blackness. We're talking about like the fact that she's from North Carolina,
Mhm.
the fact that she grew up in an environment of like, the blues
Mhm.
and ragtime and gospel and all the other spirituals, rather, is what they would have called them.
Right.
And that all of that is sort of synthesized with everything that she hears in New York.
Mhm.
And that is really what creates the unique sound that Freddie can't do.
Yeah, on top of that, it was from a completely different perspective than Freddie had. He was raised and educated in the Midwest, and she was from down south. And what he thought was important musically, I guess his teachers, it was completely different from what Josephine was getting. It was constantly around her. She was always immersed in it, and the fact that she has this condition, synesthesia, that
Mm-hmm.
just embellishes it even more. So it takes her already God-given talent and it just amplifies it tenfold. So literally, literally, Josephine eats, sleeps, and breathes music all day, every day.
Mm. And I love that and y'all, I'm sorry, we're going to have some spoilers here because this book is basically a mystery. But I love that they never had a relationship. Like, you know, because at the beginning, Ebony thinks like, yeah, they had a baby. We know where's the love child, you know. She's, by the way, Ebony, hilarious. Love her. Okay, like absolutely brilliant character. Um, and I honestly, I just don't think Byrne can even handle Ebony. She's like too much.
Ooh.
She's too much for him.
He ain't man enough.
I mean, he's like maybe that's a good thing, the yin and the yang. Like he's very mild, but she's a powerhouse. But she's like, oh, I know there's a love baby, but you didn't go there.
Nope.
That made me happy.
I figured that would be that would just be too that would be too typical. You know, it's like I wanted to mix it up a little bit, and of course, it was a thought. Of course, maybe I'll do this. Maybe that'll be the case, and that really was an original idea. But I'm like, you know what? This Josephine is a bit more complex than that, and it's not gonna. I don't want to have Freddie come in as her savior because you know she's this black woman who has nothing until he comes around. That's really not the case for Josephine. She had, you know, before she even left North Carolina, she basically had everything that she needed. She had the music that she wanted to hear all day long. She had a place to support herself and she had a good support system. And, you know, I just didn't want to ruin it by, you know, okay. And now she's got a love child by some dude who wouldn't have been able to do anything without him. And I'm like, nah, that's just, I can't do that. I can't do that to Josephine. That's my girl. Can't do it.
Somebody said about her, oh, I just saw it and now everybody's typing in the chat, so I lost it. Okay, they said, I like that you didn't give too much weight or words to what Josephine looked like. Mm-hmm. There was a mention of her eyes and smile. Often too much is given to women's physical descriptions in stories.
I agree. And I learned that the hard way in a couple of early drafts. I have a phenomenal editor, and he just basically said less is more. You know, it's not necessary. Her personality stands on its own. You don't have to rely on the same thing with Ebony. She was in the beginning. I mean, I think you can kind of tell by reading that she's, you know, she's pretty good looking. She looks good. Mm-hmm. But I don't have to hit you over the head with that all the time. It's just, you know, it's one of those things that's not important. Her intelligence stands out more than her physical appearance. And I really wanted to go back to the theme of see me for who I am, not for my appearance. You know, so that was a major part in downplaying the physical characteristics as well.
Do you have a reader other than your editor? Like, do you have early readers?
I let anyone who is willing to read and will give me honest feedback. Because, you know, people will, oh, that was so good. No, whatever. Yeah, no, I need to know. I need to tell me honestly. So I do have a few people that I trust outside of my editor to just, you know, keep it real. And
do they read the whole thing or just like parts of it?
Oh, they read. I wait until it's all done, and then I don't send a couple of chapters at a time, just the whole thing, and then just let me know.
I love that. I have people I ask, but every time I ask them, I always feel so guilty. You know, it's like a big ask of someone. So I always say, yeah, I'll read your work too. But of course, sometimes they don't have anything ready. So, okay, let's see. Okay, people put your questions in the chat. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's put this on. How did you come up with Josephine's special writing system for musical notations?
So for Josephine's particular form of annotations, I actually consulted with one of my old professors from college, and he sent me pages and pages and pages of annotations that composers, you know, used from the past and to present day composers, and they varied as much as, I mean, just everything was so completely different. Some of them looked like a child scribbling. Others of it looked like works of art. And I just thought that it was fascinating because those composers knew exactly what everything meant. You know, I could look at it and say, I don't know what this is, but they would know exactly what it was. And so I just used a combination of just a lot of things, anything that I could pull from the air, pull from my imagination. I was trying to think like Josephine would. You know, she's a very abstract thinker, but at the same time, it's very concrete to her. So I really wanted to pull from what I would think that she would use.
And it sounded like it was very artistic, like beautiful.
Oh, very much, very much.
She definitely is an aesthete, right? Like,
oh yeah,
she really appreciates the beautiful, like whatever. I feel
Mhm.
like,
When you can find beauty in anything, I think it's great.
Okay, here's another question. And y'all put some questions in the chat for them. What were the challenges in writing this book?
Whew.
How
Um,
long did it take you, Brendan?
okay. It took me about 4 months for this one. And I felt like I
Wait a
had,
minute. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. 4 months.
yeah,
What are
yeah.
you saying? What does that mean exactly?
Well, I mean, I
From
just
first draft until it was done?
from first draft until it was done, maybe 5 months. But I wrote
Good
the
Lord.
whole. I mean, I write fast, and you can appreciate this as a musician. You're accustomed to just sitting down every day and practicing. You just
Uh-huh.
do it,
Yeah.
and it's
That
the
discipline.
same with the writing. It's there, so I'm just going to put it on every single day, whether I want to or not. You just sit down and you get it done. But with this book, it was my second book, and all the other seasoned authors that I had spoken with, they all said the same thing. That second book is the hardest. So
Yeah.
I'm already dealing with that mentality.
Sophomore slump, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
But you
thinking,
didn't have a
man,
sophomore slump at all. Like,
well, knock on something wood, anything. I just figured that I had already failed, and I just that's was my mentality going in as I was writing it. So I wrote it, put it away, didn't even think about it, didn't look at it until several months later when I let one of my readers read it and said, "Give me honest feedback because I think it's terrible." And he just told me, he was like, "I love this book." Like, all right. So I looked at it again with fresh eyes, and yeah, it was tough just getting over that mental. This is your second book, and it's not going to be great. That's what I was dealing with.
you do realize that that's genius level time. I'm just saying. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and and that's amazing.
Oh,
It's amazing. And I'm not like, it's not just that it took you 4 or 5 months. It's so well done, Brendan.
oh.
It's so tight. Like, I work with that dual timeline,
Mhm.
and y'all, everything has to flow just right. Like, they talk about passing off the baton between chapters, and Brendan's structure was so interesting. So, like, he starts with, like, I didn't count, but like maybe 10 chapters in the present before he ever goes back to the past. And then he gives us some chapters in the past, and then they begin to switch back and forth very rapid fire. And then both the present and the past have to sort of climax at the same
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
So you've got two narrative arcs going on that are hard to coordinate. I'm just very impressed.
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm not saying it was easy. Not definitely not saying it was easy. There was, I had to do a lot of just when I would let people read, okay, does this make sense? Is this lining up for you? Is this boring? I would actually have to go back and redo certain parts because it didn't line up as well. In the past, all of this great stuff was happening. And then in the present, it was a little bit slow. So I had to beef it up a bit. So I really do rely on people, to just let me know how they feel about the pacing. Is the pacing good? And I just want to make sure that it's authentically enjoyable for everyone. If I'm not enjoying it, how can I expect someone else to enjoy it?
Yeah, and actually that's, I used to really, and I still love it when writers read my work, but now I really love it when just a stone cold reader
Mhm.
reads my work, and I'll ask them, just tell me where I lose your interest. Just
Right.
tell me where you went to the bathroom and never came. Like, I want to know that now. Because I know all the technical stuff. Like, now I need to just know where it falls flat for a reader.
Mhm.
Okay, y'all, put some questions in the chat.
Ooh.
All right, let's look at this long one. It was really interesting to me how Freddie became so delusional. He actually accused Josephine of stealing from him. Was the arc of his story planned from the start, or did it evolve as you wrote the novel? I thought he had some redeeming qualities in the beginning, but he turned.
Oh, oh, not Freddie, not my guy, Freddie. No. Um, the story, that's the direction that the story went to. And I'm gonna say, for those who have not read the book, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say it, in defense of Freddie. Freddie is my guy. I like Freddie. I honestly, and I want the people, when you read the story, I want you to keep in mind 1920s, a woman, a black woman, a neurodivergent black woman. That's all I'm going to say. If any of us were in Freddie's shoes, would we have done anything differently? It's really easy to say he's this, he did this, he did this. But if you put yourself in his position, would you have done anything differently? And I always pose that question to people when they're just automatically fire off Freddie was this or Freddie was that. I'm like, just think about it for a second. Think about the situation.
Well, and he, in some ways, I think he believes, because he talks about the music as our music, and
Right.
he believes that Josephine wouldn't have a career without him.
Did you, okay, let me ask you, did you honestly, do you think there's some truth in that?
I think he deserved like something for just doing the lyrics. He does the arranging sometimes, but not half. And according to Josephine, he was taking more than half.
Oh,
So I think he deserved the kind of payment that one might make to, a hired person. And he starts to hire people too. Like
right.
once they get big, he hires a lyricist. So whatever he was paying that lyricist is probably what he should have been paid. I mean, but this whole songwriting collaboration thing has been, and I hate to bring it up, I hate to do it, y'all, in the Taylor Swift Beyonce conversation, because Taylor Swift has more songwriting credits that are either solo songwriting credits or just with her writing partner, whereas Beyonce has larger songwriting teams. So there are these conversations about who's a better songwriter and da 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 da. And then I've heard people say, well, when you look back to the beginning of composition and music publishing,
Mm-hmm.
it was always a collaborative process.
Right.
But so in terms of the two of them, I thought he deserved something, but not what he was taking.
I agree, but I'm going to play devil's
Okay.
advocate just a little bit.
Okay.
All of the music that Josephine was experiencing, everything that she was hearing around and transforming into this wonderful, wonderful music that was being put out into the world, she would not have been able to do that without Freddie. He gave her a lot of those opportunities,
Yeah.
taking her here, taking her there, showing her this, I mean, that's really what it was. He helped facilitate a lot of what she was experiencing.
Is that why our publishers take 92% of our list price?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Yeah, they tell themselves they're doing the right thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, let's see what else we have.
Oh, wait, I see one. Can I answer this one?
Which
Because I love
one?
this stuff. I was chuckling at the dialogue of Josephine's family
where's
because
that?
it's right after the one that
Oh, there it is. Let's put that on.
I love this one. I was chuckling at the dialogue of Josephine's family because it sounded like my down south family. It was heartwarming. I am so glad whomever wrote that. I'm so glad that came across that way because I'm not even kidding. That was my family. That was my grandma, my aunts, all of them. That was every single one of them. And that conversation probably did happen for real. And I'm sure I've heard it a million times when I would go and visit my family. And I really wanted to, I love family dynamics because everybody can relate to them. And that was so much fun for me to write. When I told my cousins that I was, hey, I'm putting your mom in this, I'm doing your mom over here, they were really excited. And when they read it, they were just like, you nailed it. That was them. That was totally them.
Well, I love how Ebony went down there and became like their daughter.
And you're Southern, right?
Yeah, I'm from Memphis.
So you know exactly that's true.
Yep.
It will happen every single time. You will leave with a basket full of food and a whole new family.
Yep, whole new family. I got family in Alabama. I got family all over the South.
All over.
And someone asked that. I see here, was Josephine's North Carolina family reminiscent of your family? So somebody did ask that question.
It was my family.
Someone wanted to know if you wrote each timeline one at a time or simultaneously.
Oh, definitely simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to write them one at a time. Although
Yeah.
I do sometimes revise one at a time as I
Mhm,
try to
mhm.
move everything in place.
Yeah.
Okay, you see any other questions here? What are we'll get to his next work and all of that stuff at the end. Let's see. Uh, let's see here. Questions.
These are some good questions. Wow.
Very good. Loved Ebony. Let's just read some of the things people say. They say they loved Ebony. Here's a good one. Do you or someone you know have synesthesia?
I don't have. If I had synesthesia, I would be overwhelmed all the time. I couldn't deal with it. I don't know anyone with synesthesia, but one of my favorite composers, Rimsky-Korsakov, had synesthesia, and it's one reason I love listening to his music and playing his music because I believe that his synesthesia just expands everything and opens every instrument is used to its utmost. And I think that's largely due to his synesthesia. He can just see and hear things that the rest of us can't, and it just comes out in his music. So I really wanted to focus on that too because I love his music.
Who was your favorite character to write?
Oh, my favorite character to write. All right. I think we know that I'm already Team Freddy, so I'm not gonna dote on that a bit. But I really enjoyed writing Burn, um, primarily because Burn is my late brother. His mannerisms, his speech, his musical abilities, his passion, everything. That was my brother. So it was fun to pay tribute to him that way.
Mm, I saw that in the author's note. And you dedicated the book to everyone whose voices were taken too soon or who wasn't
Mhm.
heard. I love that dedication.
Thank you.
How did you come up with the Olympics music Josephine wanted to write?
Man, I went back and forth with a ton of stuff. I'm like, well, how about this? How about that? Nothing was working, nothing was sticking until my agent and I just kind of brainstormed. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? We'll compare it to the rings of like Wagner's Ring Cycle, but we have to have something that's American. Not that the Olympics are American per se, but it does, it involves America a bit more than Wagner's Ring Cycle. And I thought that it would just be really, really interesting. And I love the fact that okay, the thing that really, really gets me, and I'm just blown away by that whole thing. The opera that was missing is the red ring.
Yes.
And looking at this book cover, you'll notice that there's no red on the cover.
Yeah.
I just thought that that was genius. And I'm like, all right, so somebody gets it. Somebody totally gets what I was trying to go for there. And I thought it was fun. And somebody actually asked me, could they write a ring cycle opera, an Olympic ring cycle? I was like, yeah, knock yourself out. Sure. You don't even have to put my name on it. Just do it.
Did you have a music playlist as you wrote the book?
The one mistake that I made with this book that I did not do with the Violin Conspiracy, everything in the Violin Conspiracy is completely it's all real music by the composers and everything, and I have that listed. Everything that Josephine wrote, every single piece of music that she wrote and she listened to was all fictionalized. If anybody has ever seen the movie The Usual Suspects, I know it's like a 35-year-old movie or whatever, but I Kaiser Sosa'd every piece of music that
Mm,
she put. I just looked around my office and I'm like,
making up stuff.
Quicksilver. I got a statue of a superhero Quicksilver over there, Quicksilver Symphony. That's how I came up with everything. So none of that music is real. Sorry. If anybody wants to write it,
Although
hit me up.
I was so happy that you name dropped my home girl, Alberta Hunter,
Oh,
another sort of forgotten great who was a blues singer from Memphis, born and raised in Memphis, and who dropped out of, who was
mhm,
well known and then sort of disappeared. She became a nurse actually at a hospital in New
mhm.
York, but nobody knew that she was Roberta Hunter. And then when she was in her 80s, her
Yeah.
career was revived
Yeah.
and she was famous again, like she was rediscovered. And so she was the perfect name to put in this book. And I was very happy about that.
Thank you.
All right. Somebody said, love Byrne because how many tenure track professors would take that scholarly risk? I felt so bad for Byrne.
Why?
I was feeling his pain so deeply.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just was so powerless and vulnerable because he loved Delaney.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, if there was anybody who this really affected, it was him. Like his whole life. I mean, at the beginning, he's like a Delaney head,
Yeah.
And this turns that. I mean, it really not only does it turn upside down what he thought about Delaney, but also himself.
Right. Right. He really had to do a lot of. He had to rethink a lot of life decisions. He really did, because he was devastated when he found out, the secret that he finds out. And do you keep the appearance of just, your idol, your hero who saved your life, or do you, come clean with the truth and you put it out there for everyone, knowing that it's going to have ramifications on the person who has affected you the most in life? That was a huge burden for him to have to deal with. And,
Yeah.
I'm glad that he had Ebony to bounce stuff off of.
Right. He needed her.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, y'all, we're going to go through these last questions kind of rapid fire because we're running out of time and we want Brendan to be able to enjoy the rest of his evening. A favorite William Grant Still piece?
Ooh, all of his symphonies are beautiful. His chamber music, the suite for violin and piano is amazing. There's a piece, third movement of his quintet, Inaga. Absolutely gorgeous.
All right. Somebody wants to know, are you familiar with Margaret Bonds? I don't know who this is.
Margaret, I think I took some notes on her. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you know what? Let me
Tell
write
us
this
in the
down.
chat who is Margaret Bonds so we
Yeah.
can know. If you tell us, I'll share it here. Somebody wrote Rimsky-Korsakov. Are they in disbelief that you like Rimsky-Korsakov?
Perkins-Valdez is awesome. What are you talking about? Please, Capricho Espanol. That's my jam.
We got to get to the question about your next project, which was all the way at the top. What are you working on now?
I just finished my next manuscript to.
You're going to make me depressed right now, Brendan.
No. It's been a long time coming. I just finished my draft to my next book. It's called Dark Maestro. It's about a cellist, witness protection, illegal organ harvesting, and comic books. So yeah.
Whoa.
It's as soon as I get the arc for it, I'm going to be sending it out and, making whatever changes I need to make from people who will be willing to read it. Well, probably took 3 minutes to draft. Oh, I don't know if that was an insult or a compliment.
Somebody said 3 minutes. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I just finished a book by my friend Mark Cecil called Bunyan and Henry, or The Beautiful Destiny. And okay, I absolutely love this book. Everything that you thought you knew about Paul Bunyan, American folklore, John Henry, it really examines it's a really creative take on their friendship and their relationship and working together and dealing with. It is a great book. Mark Cecil. I highly recommend it. And I'm also reading an arc of the book called Broiler by Eli Craner. And everything he writes is good, and I'm really enjoying it. And when it comes out, I hope everybody picks it up.
Somebody said here, I work for a nonprofit. You did an excellent job depicting the foundation and its board members. I thought so too. They were creepy. You know what? There are so many books recently that have creepy billionaires in them. Somebody wants to know about movie deal.
Yeah, I'm in talks right now, and yes, I'm in talks
about the first or the second or both, maybe
both.
Both.
In talks for both. Yes.
This
Yes.
is so exciting. This is so exciting, y'all.
Yeah, I'm crazy excited about it.
Okay, I think that's it. Do you see anything else over here we need to respond to?
Oh, it was a compliment. I'm glad to hear
Yeah,
that.
somebody said it was the 3-minute comment was a compliment. Oh, Margaret Bond, did we put this up? He's got the whole world in his hands, has been recorded by many singers, including Jesse Norman, Kathleen Battle, and others.
All
Okay.
right. I'm gonna look her up.
I love it. Somebody needs to write a book about her.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody needs to get on it.
Yeah. We love how Ebony and Byrne came together over pizza. Genius. Do you love pizza?
I'm a vegan, so
Ah,
when I rarely get to eat pizza, but when I do, it's always going to be something from New York, and I will break my diet for that because it's just the best pizza in the world.
so basically, you're telling us you're a vegan, you're a genius, you're a professional musician, you write books in 4 months. What is not to love here with Brendan Slocumb? I want to thank you for coming and for just being so kind and sharing your time with us. And,
Oh,
anything I didn't ask you that you want to share? Anything you want to promote?
I want to promote Dolen's daughter selling Girl Scout cookies because a brother is trying to get a couple boxes and just saying.
Well, you know what? The season is ending this week, so you are sliding in just at the end, and I'm going to make sure you get all the Thin Mints your heart desires.
Thank you. I could stand to put on a couple more pounds. I could probably use it. I was traveling it was wearing on me. But Dolan, thank you so much for having me. This has been
Oh,
wonderful. I want to congratulate you on the
yes.
success of your book club. This is
Thank
fantastic.
you so much. I mean, we couldn't do it without you authors, donating your time and being kind enough to say yes. And, we are growing, but we are extremely enthusiastic. And, when you get us, you have us for life. So everybody here is going to be waiting for your next book.
You guys are awesome.
All righty. Thanks,
Thin Mints.
y'all.